Welcome to the PRFFP, the podcast showcasing the films and the directors of the Party Room Film Festival. This week's guests directed End of the Bloodline, Metal Weird Solid, Game Night, End of the Bloodline 2, and this year's submission Offsides. Nerds and nerd wives, please welcome Sam.
Hey, what's going on, everybody?
Sam, thank you for joining me on a little peek behind the scenes on a snow day, basically.
Yeah, we're right in the middle of a big old snowstorm right now, aren't we?
Yep. We're coming to you live from the podcast studio in St. Louis.
Well, you are. I'm in Lexington.
Oh, yeah. All right, whatever, man.
I'm at my house in Lexington on my couch, my usual spot, you know.
All right, well, let's just get right into it. So, Party Room comes around, and we end up doing Civil War, which you obviously knew a little bit ahead of time, being a team captain.
Oh, yeah.
What were your first reactions when you were approached about being one of these captains?
Oh man! So when Zach and Josiah reached out to me and Matt about being the captains, I truly was honored. Like to be thought of somebody that would like take that mantle and just run with it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm all for all the Party Room things, and willing to do like whatever it takes for Party Room. Like I'm all about it all the time. So for that to be recognized was really cool, and to think that I could be a team leader, to be the captain of a team. Yeah, it was awesome for them to think of me as one of those people.
Tell me a little bit about choosing teams. Did y'all do like a draft pick? How did that go?
Yeah, so we had a draft. I can't remember exactly how we decided. I can't remember how we decided who went first. I think we just flipped a coin. Mm-hmm. But so we had Matt and Josiah and Zach were. Actually, I can't remember. No, they weren't here. It was just me and Matt were here at my house hanging out, and we talked it out, and we like flipped a coin and decided and just did a draft. And so Matt did get the first pick, and he chose Levi, I believe.
Classic.
And then so we did like a snake draft. So he got the first pick, and I got the next two. Then he got the next two. And then, yeah. And so I was like, perfect. Like I wanted Andrew, because like Andrew's going to go hard. So I was afraid that Matt would take Andrew, because I was like, like Andrew, like, Matt likes to go hard. Andrew is like probably the other person that's like second ranked and like to go hard, if not number one. So I thought for sure that Matt would take him. But he didn't. And so I got Andrew. And then after, later when we were talking about it, I don't want to reveal like the whole, the whole draft order. But, later when we were talking about it, Matt said something like, he's like, yeah, like Andrew wasn't even like my top four. And I was like, really? And so,
top four on a team of 5 or 6, excuse me.
Well, top four out of the other 11. Yeah. So just listening to Andrew's episode the other day, like, so that is true. So I know, Andrew thinks like maybe I said that just to motivate him, which I mean, I did tell him to motivate him, but it's also true that he was not in Matt's top 4. I want to say that Matt's top 4 was like Levi, Paul, Zach, and Aaron, I think. And of course, we got, I got Zach on the blue team, but no, the draft was cool. I pretty much got everybody that I wanted. I think Matt also did too. So it ended up working out the way that we wanted it to.
Was there a strategy with getting all of council members on your team?
No, there wasn't necessarily. It just kind of ended up that way. I kind of had already had in mind like who I would want. I mean, like whichever way it panned out, like we would have both had really good teams. It would have been cool to have you, or it would have been cool to have Paul. But just I think both of the teams ended up being really even.
They were great. Y'all did a great job.
Yeah, and so I kind of thought like, I was just kind of thinking like in the past, like what have people done, and like what's a team? I guess my strategy was like, what is a team that kind of fits my mold? That would be a good reflection of who I am as a filmmaker. And so, with Andrew, you got like, you're like Andrew and like Trevor, like you just got like the chaos, right?
Yeah.
So like they fit like the chaotic side of me. And then with Mitchell, Mitchell is another story. So I knew what his ideal was going to be before he changed it. And so I selected him. I was like, I wanted him on my team anyway, because he's Mitch, like, we're roommates.
Uh-huh.
But I drafted him based off of his original idea.
Okay.
And there was like, then of course it changed. And then, Tanner coming in with the trilogy, like, it's really, really highly anticipated ending of his trilogy. So I was happy to get him.
Mhm.
And then who else? What was the shoot?
And then you got stuck with Josiah.
Yeah, and then stuck with Josiah, of course.
Both teams got just stuck with.
Although I did get the best part of Josiah with the blue Josiah. The person that I was forgetting was myself. So
that's true.
Yeah, I think everybody kind of fit the mold of like, just aspects that reflect me as a filmmaker.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was really happy with just the way that my team was built. I think blue team definitely had the most camaraderie. Just unquestionable about that. So, and we were definitely the meanest, which is exactly what I wanted.
I feel really bad for like Levi doing the mini pods, because he really did just like take it on the chin every single week with the
as a red teamer, he deserved it. I mean, I know he couldn't pick the team that he was on, so I do feel bad for all the red team members for that aspect. Like, they did not get to choose to be on the red team; they were forced onto the red team. And I said a prayer for you guys like every day, because I was like, man, to live knowing that you're on the red team must have just been brutal.
Didn't you and Matt also choose the categories for this year?
We did, yeah. So we thought
Tell me
about
a little
that.
bit about that.
Yeah, so the same day that we drafted, we came up with the categories. So we thought about, like, I can't remember some of the ideas we had, but I think I initially came up with the idea of like let's do like opposites. If it's like a Civil War theme, like let's do the categories of like opposites, right? And so we maybe spent like an hour or so like coming up with the different ideas and just like playing around with different ideas of things that could be opposites. So what did we have? We had like hot versus cold. I think that was the first one that we came up with. And then let's see, what else was there? I can't even remember. So another interesting thing about that was we knew, it's like we already kind of had an idea of, so Matt knew what he wanted to do, right? And then I kind of knew what Mitch wanted to do. Of course, that obviously changed, as it always does with Mitch. And then I can't remember. I know Andrew, we both knew that Andrew already kind of had an idea. And so we didn't.
You,
and of
you
course,
knew that Tanner was going with light.
Yeah. And then, of course, with Tanner, with the, Chronicles of Light, like we didn't want to give categories that were like too restrictive. But also wanted to give something that was like, that could relate to what we already knew that they wanted to do. So that's why with, Tanner and, the Levi matchup was dark versus light. And you just give Tanner light and then boom, like there he goes. He doesn't really have to think about it too much. We talked to Andrew a little bit, like, and told him what we were doing. And so because with his matchup with Matt, so Matt knew what he wanted to do. And he was like, well, this is, his was like shoot first or whatever.
Yep.
And then it was like, well, what's like an opposite of that? And so we thought of negotiation. So we checked with Andrew. It was like, hey, would this work? Like, is there anything with your idea that like would be an opposite of this that would work with what you want to do? And so we came up with that. And of course, as we knew, like it's just going to be a really loose category, but I think it all worked out really well for what everybody ended up doing.
So you came up with the categories, and I'm assuming you also came up with the matchups, saying that I'm putting Aaron against Mitchell, I'm putting Trevor against Jacob. Tell me a little bit about that and how y'all figured that process out.
So there was a little bit of strategy behind that too, but most of it was just like, what's the most fun matchups that we can come up with. So like as team captain of Blue Geo, or just at the time the blue team, I didn't want to make somebody else go up against Paul. Like I was thinking
Mhm.
strategically, like, I want blue team to win. So, let's not put up like an Andrew against DePaul because like I can count on Andrew to win a category
Mhm.
most likely, right? Of course, we all know
Right.
how this played out. Red team cheated and somehow won. But that was some of the strategy. Like I'll go up against Paul. I'll it was like I haven't won a category since the first year, so I was like I'm
Mhm.
probably not going to win. It's like I would like to win a category, but let me just go up against Paul. I'll take the L there, and then I'll
Mhm.
let everybody else fight it out because I felt really good about Trevor versus you. I felt so good about Zach versus Cody, which we can talk about that later
That
if we
aged
have to.
poorly.
Um, and then like Andrew versus Matt, that's a toss up. Like
Mhm.
Mitchell's original idea, putting him up against Aaron, which I think he actually beat Aaron, right?
I I wish
I
I had
believe
the
he did.
results. I
I
mean,
believe he did.
I know that I voted for Mitchell over
Yeah.
Aaron.
Yeah. So I do believe that Mitchell did win. So putting
Mhm.
him up against Aaron, I was like, okay, this could be like a sneaky like upset victory for Mitch.
Mhm.
So that was kind of what played into the decision making. And I
Yeah.
think if you ask Matt, he'd probably tell you the same thing. Like, we all know like what everybody's capable of. So there really wasn't like a clear front runner in each category.
Mhm.
But we both kind of did it with the intention of like, I think my person can beat this person.
Mhm.
Um, and then, like I said, as the good leader I am, like I try to take one on the chin for the blue
Yeah.
team. Um,
I, I mean,
sacrifice myself.
sorry, these matchups really were incredible. Like,
They were, yeah.
I don't think there was any specific one that was like, this is the matchup of the night. This is the main event. Like, I think y'all did a great job creating pretty even teams, creating pretty even
Mhm.
matchups. And of
We
course,
made,
the categories speak for themselves.
yeah, we made sure that like there were no repeat matchups either. So we
Yeah.
went back, yeah, we did our homework. We went back through the years and looked at like who went up against who.
Hmm.
And we were able to make sure that there were no repeat matchups. And we wanted to do like the actor assignments, but
Hmm.
we were told no by the council not to do that. Because we were also going to try and make sure that there were no repeat assignments either.
Hmm.
And as you see, there were some repeat assignments this year.
Yeah.
I can't remember. I don't remember who it was, but somebody got assigned the same actor again,
Hmm.
or someone that they had already worked with before. So, um, just throw some shade on the council there. But
Well,
wouldn't have happened under me and Matt.
I think that was partly, the council, they took my idea, all right, and then they
It's a great
had
idea.
you
Yeah.
two do all of the work. And so they had to be like, well, no, we need to do something. So they were like, that's why they couldn't let y'all handle that. They had to be like, well, no, we touched it last. We did this part. This is ours.
Yeah, I guess that's fair. They had to do something. So they're already almost overthrown by Trevor. So I guess they need to hold on to a little bit of power and show that they're not totally useless.
Whenever y'all were choosing these teams, categories, and matchups, did you know about the line and the prop yet?
Um, I don't think we did. We
So you
didn't.
got,
No, we did not. We didn't find out about the line and the prop until the actual reveal video on May 31st.
all right. So what were your original thoughts? You've got Make the Podcast Great Again and a snow globe.
So I was pretty happy with the snow globe. That was the prop that I submitted.
Nice.
But listening back to last season's podcast, with Cody hosting, Cody did make a really good point that I'm going to try to think really hard about going forward, is making sure that the prop that's submitted is something that can actually be used. I mean, you could use anything, right? But I can't remember
Mhm.
how he said it. But like, I don't know, like, if you've got like a gun or something, like, the gun needs to be, the gun's going to be shot at some point. Like, what are you going to do with a snow globe? Like, you're going to shake it, and then what's it going to
Yeah.
do? So like, but
Chekhov's snow globe doesn't really have
yeah,
the same ring
yeah.
to it.
So like, I do like the idea of with both the line and the prop. I do like the idea of trying to use something or submitting something that's really hard to use, because I want people to use that creativity. So like Josiah's creativity with the snow globe, that's one of the best like uses of the prop this year.
Hmm.
I was really happy with what he did. Other people, myself included, like, I think people tried to use it as best as they could this year. I didn't really, but Trevor also, I think Trevor did a good job using the snow globe as a prop. It was like kind of like a driving force of his film. But it's really hard to do that with a snow globe. So listen to, like, with Cody, his suggestion, like, I think I'll try to think a little bit harder going forward about submitting a prop that can actually be used, but also still trying to make it something that's a little challenging to use. Now with the line, I like the line.
Yeah.
The line was fun. I think people actually used it really well this year. But so much more with the line, I like trying to give something that's really difficult to use. So this last year I submitted, or maybe like difficult or awkward to use, but this last year I submitted Hold Me Like You Did by the Lake on Naboo. From, what is that from? I think that's from Attack of the Clones. Right, honey? That's from Attack of the Clones? Or is it from Revenge of the Sith? What?
Yeah. Sam's getting canceled again.
You're not telling me which one it's from.
You had it. It's Revenge of the Sith.
Revenge of the Sith. Okay, yeah. So I submitted Hold Me Like You Did by the Lake on Naboo, which I think would have been really funny. And of course, last year, people complained about you think anybody wants a roundhouse kick to the face while I'm wearing these bad boys, which granted, it's a hard line to use.
It's a hard line.
But then you got people like Trevor that like really did a good job with it, putting it in his song. So if you made a face like you weren't aware that that's how he used it.
No, I knew. I was just, that face was more was that a good use? Because he just,
I think it was a great use.
He just, you think.
I think it was a great use. I think it was my favorite use of the line last year. But I mean, I like making the line and the prop really difficult to use. Really, the line, because I just think it's ridiculous to have to add a line, but it also just shows how creative people can be with their scripts if they're able to use such a crazy line flawlessly. I'm really sad that Aaron's line didn't get picked. I think he was the one that submitted the one from Jack Frost. It was like, I'm the Wizard of Blizzard. It's like a really lot. You'd had to ask him if you haven't interviewed him yet. But
okay.
His line, I wish that one got picked because it was just so crazy. And it would have gone perfectly with a snow globe too.
Tell me, like, what do you think the rules on lines should be? Apparently there are people within our group that think that it's meant to be a movie line, not just a random line.
If you ask me for the first couple years, I would have said like it's got to be something from a movie. I've kind of softened on that the last few years. I think, whatever, just something that's like funny or challenging to use. Like, I do think it's a lot more fun. I do think it's fun, like if it is something from a movie, just because it's like a reference, like a reference that people get, or can just be like ironic. And I think it is sometimes a little bit more ironic when it's like a quote from a movie, or like a popular quote. But I mean, I don't mind if it's like, make the podcast great again. Like, it's like an inside joke within the guys, and whatever, however that evolves over time. Like, I'll just be excited to like figure out how to use whatever line is submitted. But as for me, like, I'll probably continue to submit movie lines, but that's just me.
I mean, the next question that I usually ask is I start asking about where the ideas for your film come from, where writing comes from.
Yeah, it's a great question to ask.
Please explain the whole Cody. Just give me the lore on why Cody wrote your script this year.
Okay, so last year when we were doing, so Andrew was going to reveal the top 10 that we voted for, right?
Right.
And I guess people were like guessing, like, here's what I think the top 10 is going to be. Andrew would say, you've got this many right. Or whatever. And so I can't remember exactly how it went down, but I think a couple people had guessed, a few people had submitted their guesses, and like, I want to say it was Mitchell and maybe Aaron that both submitted, or that both had like Meaningless Fever Dream and like spot number 7. I think that's what it was. And for both of them, Andrew told them that they only had one right. And so I wasn't very smart and was looking at it. I was like, oh, well, like the only one that they have the same is Meaningless Fever Dream and spot number 7. But I wasn't thinking that, it could have been like a different one that each of them had right. So not my smartest moment.
Yeah.
And so I was making the argument. I was like, okay, well, we know that Meaningless Fever Dream is number 7 because they both had one right. But like, we know that for sure. And I was so confident in it. And, Cody was like, that's not necessarily true. And I was like, dude, yes, it is. You're an idiot. And so I was like, Cody, I will let you write my scripts if I am wrong. And then, I was like, so we'll make a deal. Like, if I'm right, like, I'll write your script for you. If you're right, you write your script for me for next year. And he agreed to it.
So
and then the council, we had to get the council stamp of approval as well. And so they agreed to it.
So when entering this contract, it was like the equivalent of like, yeah, you can swim across the Pacific Ocean. Sure. Like it wasn't, you entered the contract with 100% belief that you would be writing Cody's script.
I was so certain. Like I kid you not, I was 100% certain that I was right. I was not thinking about like the possibility that, they could have each had like a different one placed somewhere that was in the right spot. That did not cross my mind. Like I said, not my brightest moment, but that's how it went down.
It's fine if you don't have an answer to this, but if you did win and you had wrote Cody's script, do you have any idea what it would have been?
I don't have a firm idea, but it was going to be complete nonsense. Like it was just going to be like gibberish and like not really have any story at all. It was just going to be like the most random crap that I could think of. And just jot it down, whether it made sense or not. I was just going to go with it and just be like, here you go. Here's this pile of crap, Cody. Like, have fun making it.
Big
Cody
ups
was a
to
lot
you.
nicer than I would have been.
Yeah. Well, big ups to you for following through on that contract because.
Okay, so I've got some thoughts about that. So.
Oh, okay. All right. Here we go.
So first of all, I'm pretty sure that Andrew admitted in the chat that he manipulated the data to make me wrong. He did say that. I have a screenshot of it somewhere. I'm pretty sure. I think it's in the receipts chat. Can I look at the receipts chat real quick while we're here?
Yeah,
So I said when we were voting on our top 10 films and we were all guessing what we thought the overall top 10 was, and Andrew was telling us how many we had right. I was like, we know Meaningless Fever Dream is number 7 based on what we know so far. And Cody was like, no, not necessarily. I was so confident that I was right. I bet Cody, if I was right, then I'd get to write his script. And if he was right, he'd write mine for me. Then Andrew manipulated the results to make it look like I was wrong. And ipso facto, now Cody is writing my script for me. Then Andrew said 1 minute later, that is all correct. So he admitted there, and he can say whatever he wants, which he can't now because his interview's already happened.
Yes.
But Andrew, you admitted that you manipulated the results to make me wrong. So I think I'm owed something by the council.
Okay.
I really think I'm owed something by the council, whether that's like 5 Golden Dewey votes for next year or something like, or maybe, maybe not to that extreme, but I do think the council cheated me there. Specifically Andrew.
This wouldn't happen if Trevor was in the council.
Absolutely not. It definitely would not have happened. Yeah, so there you go.
That's so funny. Thank you.
I can't remember what. I think I trailed us off there. Did you ask another question?
Not really. I didn't know that
so-
the conspiracy went so deep. Like, that's incredible.
I just couldn't believe that. Like, I just can't believe that he like just said like, yeah, that's all right. And I was like, well, I'm okay. Like, I knew it. Like, I knew that Andrew would do that to me. His own captain. He didn't know it at the time, but I was his own captain.
All right. Well, Cody is going to write your script. Like that's in stone. That's what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Cody has a tendency to, how do I put this? Work a little bit slower than the rest of us.
Yeah.
You know,
Be
So-
late on things.
you said
Not
it, not
release
me.
things on time.
You said it, not me. So what if he gave you your script at like, July 20th?
So he had a deadline. This is another thing.
Mhm.
So this tells you how this is going to tell you how loyal I am. I've got feelings about this. So I'm a man of my word. I don't have to be a man of other people's words, but I'm a man of my own words. So that's the only reason why I went through with it still. Cody had a deadline. He had to get me the script by like July 7th or something at like, I can't remember if it was midnight or what time was it, but he had a deadline. It was July, or not July 7th. It was June, like the first week of June 7th. And if he didn't get it to me by that time, then the deal was off. I could write my own script.
Okay.
I think Heather and Cody were coming down to visit us like June 8th or something like that. I can't remember, like that first weekend, like the day after the deadline, they were going to be here. And Cody was like, well, I'll just share it with you. I'll just share the script with you like when we're down there. I'm just like, yeah, but Cody, that's going to be past the deadline. Like you have to give me the script by the deadline.
Mhm.
And he didn't do it. He did not get me the script by the deadline that he was supposed to get it to me. So I could have written my own script and done whatever I wanted to, but I still went along with it just for the bit.
Interesting. Dude,
Yeah,
this conspiracy
Ellen
goes
made a good
deep.
point. Cody he wasn't even finished with it when they got here. He was still working on it, putting the finishing touches on it when they got here. But here I am. I did it anyway. But I also kind of did it like, don't tell anybody this. You could edit this part out of the podcast. Okay. I didn't have any
If you
other
actually
ideas.
want me to, I will.
No, don't. I'm just kidding. But cut out the part where I'm saying that I'm kidding about cutting it out. But just leave the part in that I'm telling you to leave out, because it's like a joke of like, I say, hey, leave this out, but then you actually leave it in.
Okay.
So yeah, but I didn't really have any other ideas. So I just was going to do Cody's idea regardless of if he gave it to me late.
Gotcha. Perfect. So tell me about that first script that he gave you. Is it pretty close to what we saw?
It was mostly pretty close. More feelings about this. I'll share in a bit, but yeah, so it was pretty close to what I saw. Well, I didn't really change too much of it. I changed some of like, he had some like different locations that we were supposed to be at. Like there was one location that was supposed to be at like a bar or something like that that I didn't do. I think there was like a bar and a tailgate and like a home and a secret meeting place. And I think I just combined like the bar and the tailgate all into one, because I was like, I'm not going to find a location like that. That's one of my least favorite things, is location scouting and finding locations. I don't have like any connections to like any unique place that's not public. So I just cut that part out and was like, we'll just do all this at the tailgate. But other than that, everything was mostly the same, except for the fact that we translated it from just normal English to like Shakespearean speak.
Okay.
So his original script was just like normal English. And I was like, this needs something.
Okay.
And Heather and I kind of spitballed back and forth, like, well, like if it's Romeo and Juliet, why don't we translate it to Shakespeare? And so we used AI to translate it to Shakespeare, which I think, you guys can hound on me, but I think that's a good use of AI.
I think so.
But we used AI to translate it to Shakespeare, and then pretty much everything, except for like some minor details that are insignificant, everything was pretty much the same.
Amazing. So he did. So the whole Romeo Juliet, that was him.
Yeah.
A football Romeo
The
and
football
Juliet
thing was him. Yeah.
But
Andrew helped him.
Took it a step further.
Yeah. Andrew helped him with the script a little bit. I think Cody said it was like 90% Cody, like 10% Andrew.
Okay.
I don't think Andrew really knew Andrew knew like a gist of what it was, but so I think what happened was Andrew like paid Cody like $5 or $10 to like make me wear like like an Eagles jersey or something like that. And here's the other thing. So
more conspiracy from the
so here's the other thing that I'm really disappointed in this.
Okay.
So this whole time leading up to this, like can't remember when Cody had the idea. He had it pretty early on, I think. And the only clue by Cody that I was given was that I was gonna have to do something, or it was like I was gonna have to make a decision that neither option I would enjoy, and that was gonna be funny to everyone else, supposedly. And so I'm sitting here thinking, like, oh man, like if it's like Cody, so Cody, like I lived with for a whole year, and then then Andrew, like Andrew's pretty good at like being mean to people, right?
Right.
So I was thinking, like, man, like if Cody and Andrew were coming up with something that I would like, if they're coming up with a decision that I would not want to make, like I am so worried to see what that decision could be. But in my mind, I was like, if it's something stupid, like I have to wear like this team shirt or this team jersey of a team I don't like, I was thinking like that would be the dumbest thing, because like I really expected more of them.
Yeah.
I really thought that they could come up with something better than that. And when I read the script, I was like, so I just have to wear like an Eagles or a Steelers shirt. And they're like, yeah, that's it. And I was like, that's really disappointing. I was really disappointed.
Guys, you could have bullied me more.
Yeah, exactly. They could have done something so much worse, which I'm not going to say what they could have done, but there are much worse things that they could have done that I'm really disappointed that they did not come up with.
You're kind of an anomaly right now, because you're like, I was worried they were going to be mean, and then they weren't mean enough. So it's like, I can't get a read on you.
Yeah, but I mean, so like, if it was like Louisville or Tennessee, like that would have been a little harder, because like I really wouldn't have wanted to do either of that. But like, still, that's too easy, like, oh, like let's make this guy that's a fan of this team wear something that is rival teams. Like, come on, like Andrew's much smarter than that. Like I was really disappointed. And then for the choice to be like Steelers and Eagles, like I hate the Steelers. Like I'm not gonna wear something that's Steelers. And I was even given the option. Like they could have forced me to wear the Steelers stuff, but they didn't even do that. They're like, you can wear the Steelers stuff or you can wear the Eagles stuff. And like, yeah, I don't really like the Eagles that much, but like I don't mind wearing their stuff. So yeah, just all in all, like I was really disappointed in that. They could have done way better.
All right. So we get into the film. Andrew does not appear on screen, but he is your sportscaster on the radio. Well, you and Trevor are arriving at the tailgate. Tell me a little bit about the direction that you gave Andrew.
I told Andrew to speak with, so I sent him like the words like in Shakespearean speak, and it was just like, just do like your best, or quote unquote your best British accent, and just say this. And I was like, you're a podcaster, so go ahead.
So that was his British accent.
That was his British accent, yeah. And he was like, I cannot do a British accent, and I was like, that's even better. Like honestly, like the worse it is, the more happy with it I'll be. And it was pretty bad. I think the one that I used was the best. And that's not saying a whole lot. Andrew can attest to that. I think they were all pretty bad. I also have a really bad British accent. So I can't say too much about Andrew's, but it was he was worried that it wasn't going to sound British enough, and I was like, dude, I do not care. Like, just give me your best, and if it's bad, that's funny.
It did sound a touch more German than British, in my opinion, but very good. And I mean, we immediately get a good feel for what this film will be. We have Trevor saying, "Go with birds."
Go with birds. Yep.
But let's, without getting too far ahead of ourselves, this film must have took so many takes. Like, how did you do any of this without laughing? How did you get any straight takes?
Well, it wasn't so much that it was hard to keep a straight face. It was more so like just trying to get the words right.
Interesting.
Yeah, like as anybody that's done Shakespeare before knows that like it's not, like it's really hard to remember the language because it's like a different language, right? Like I mean, it is English, but it's a different type of English.
Yeah.
and the words are weird, and like if you're doing Shakespeare, like if you're watching Shakespeare, you can know who knows what they're saying if you can understand what they're saying.
Mm-hmm.
Because like so many times, like at Asbury, they did like a Shakespeare play, and I went and watched it, and there was like one guy in the whole cast that I could understand what he was saying and what was going on when he spoke, because you could tell that he knew what his lines meant, but
Yeah.
nobody else knew. Like nobody else in that play knew what their lines meant, and they were just up there saying the words. But with this, like it was a little easier to translate, a little easier to understand. I don't think anybody like was confused watching it as to what was going on.
Yeah.
But it was that was the hardest part, was just saying the words right. And it was really hot that day too. So I think people were like just focused on like, let's just get this done and get out of here.
So you obviously, you're a method actor. You went full method, putting on the jersey. I think you were wearing a hat. No, not the hat. The flag.
Yeah, I bought that flag.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Wow. You went full into character. Tell me about your impression and Trevor's impression of Eagles fans. Tell me how I could be an Eagles fan.
I would just recommend that you don't. So to be an Eagles fan, you just have to be really obnoxious and really rude.
Okay.
So just be like Andrew. That's how to be an Eagles fan. But you do like I do think what we did in the film was like very accurate of how they are, like just running around like flapping their wings everywhere. Everywhere you walk, like you're flapping your arms like wings. So I would not recommend being an Eagles fan. That was a very difficult thing to portray. Like I felt really dirty doing that. I guess that's why they call them the Dirty Birds.
Andrew was your assigned actor. What brought Trevor into the mix?
So brought Trevor into the mix because I'd never gotten to work with Trevor before. And now that he is back in the area, he was living in Texas and now he's back in the area. I was like, oh, this is perfect. Like I've never had Trevor in a film before. So let's bring in Trevor. Like it'd be fun. And plus, like I think with the Shakespearean like craziness of it, I knew that Trevor would play it up. And that Trevor would have a lot of fun with it. And he did. I think Trevor did a really great job and gave me exactly what I was looking for in his performance.
Having Trevor in your film will never degrade it. Like it can only help you.
Yeah, for sure.
Tell me about this other Steelers fan. Who is that?
So that guy, it was a guy named Mason. He goes to our church with me and Ellen. So he's a real good guy. We have known them for 3-4 years. I think they started coming to our church around COVID. But originally, the reason I cast him was originally the script called for somebody to be carrying Ellen. And I was like, I need to find somebody that I can trust carrying Ellen. And it wasn't going to be Trevor because I knew that I wanted Trevor like by my side as the other Eagles fan. As I was like, who do I know that I can trust to like pick up Ellen and carry her? Because Ellen she already hates being picked up. So I was like, I need somebody that she trusts and somebody that I trust, like not to drop her. And so I was like, Mason's a big guy. I mean, he's a strong guy. So I was like, hey, Mason, like, here's the deal. Here's what Party Room is. I've got a part for you if you want to do it. And I was like, I really need somebody to not drop my wife. And he was all in. So I think he dabbles a little bit in, like creative stuff, like music and a little bit of like filmmaking. Or he's wanted to get into filmmaking a little bit too. So he immediately jumped on the idea. So that's who that was. That was my buddy Mason Parker.
Awesome.
And then I was fortunate enough to get. I'll tell you a little bit about like how I got the gear too, the Eagles and Steelers stuff, because I really didn't want to have to buy a bunch of stuff. So the Eagles stuff,
I was about to
except for
say
the
that
cat.
that actually is my next question, so
Is
you can
it?
just go ahead.
Oh, why
Yeah.
don't you just go ahead and ask it then, so I can answer it.
Oh, where did you get all of the costumes and props for this?
Oh, that's a really good question. I'm glad you asked it. Um, so, so obviously Andrew's an Eagles fan. I could have asked him for stuff, but he's so small that like
Yeah.
none of his stuff would have fit me, or
Mhm.
Trevor for that matter. So I asked our other friend Michael, who he also lives in the DC area, is friends with Andrew. They go out and watch games sometimes. He's also an Eagles fan. And so I messaged him. I was like, "Hey man, like I need to borrow some Eagles stuff." I was like, "If you've got like a jersey or like a shirt, whatever you've got, like I need like 2 shirts or like 2 jerseys, and like a hat or something if you got it." And he was like, "No problem, dude. Like I got you." And so he sent me the 2 jerseys and the hat that Trevor was wearing.
Mhm.
I can't remember. I think that may have been all that he sent me.
Mhm.
And then I bought the Eagles flag. It was like $10 online.
Mhm.
And so I sent that, when I sent the stuff back to him, I included the Eagles flag as like a thank you for letting me
Oh,
borrow it. And
good
then
guy. Good guy,
yeah,
Sam.
and then
Attaboy.
the Steelers stuff. I've got a coworker that's a Steelers fan. Um, and so I asked her, I was like, hey, like her and I go back and forth with Bengals and Steelers a lot because
Mhm.
they're rivals and whatnot. So I was like, hey, like I know this is a weird question and you're probably not going to trust me, but I need to borrow some Steelers gear from you for this film that I'm making.
Mhm.
And so I had to tell her a little bit about what Party Room was and like what I was going to use the stuff for. And she was like, you're not going to like do anything bad with it, right? And I was like, no, I promise. Like, we're just going to like wear it and use it. It was like, I'm not going to wipe my butt with it or anything,
Mhm.
although I would have liked to.
Mhm.
But I had to like really convince her to like let me borrow the stuff. And she was like, all right. She's like, all right, here you go.
Mhm.
And so she gave me the shirt, which was perfect because it fit Mason perfectly.
Yeah.
I think it was like a brand new shirt that she had bought for like her husband or something that was a little too big.
Mhm.
And so like she was like, here, like take that. And then the scarf, she gave me the scarf. And then there's like a cup. That was a Steelers cup that she lent me. And then the lanyard that I think Mason wore the lanyard.
Yes.
Because Ellen wore the scarf.
Yep.
And just like a black shirt. But so yeah, the shirt and the lanyard and the scarf and the cup were all hers. And then the snow globe, which you can't really see the snow globe in the film,
No.
but it's just like it's a little tiny like Pittsburgh snow globe.
Mhm.
I can send you a picture of that as well that you can share in the
Yeah.
episode.
Yeah, that's fine.
But it was just like a little tiny like Pittsburgh snow that I bought for like $8 online. And similar with the flag that I gave to Michael, I was going to give my coworker this snow globe as a thank you, but it got shattered, so I wasn't able to do that.
What I love is that like there's no shot of it beforehand. It's just randomly Trevor throws something on the
Yeah.
ground.
Well, there is a moment where you can see it. Like
Yeah.
it's in there like real quick, and it's really tiny in the background, but you can see it.
Yeah.
So it's there. I wish that there could have been a better use for the snow globe,
Mhm.
but it is what it is.
Tell me about this tailgate. Where are you? And
We
where are
were
all
at
these cars?
so we were on the UK Arboretum. You can see in the background the water tower that has the
Mhm.
UK logo on it. Um, and so I was, like I said before, I don't like location scouting. So I was thinking like we could go to we could go to like like an actual parking lot of like the football stadium, and do it there. But I was worried that like I shouldn't be in the actual parking lot.
Mhm.
I don't think it would have mattered, but that was my worry that
Yeah.
we wouldn't have been able to be there. But it was really hot that day too, so
Mhm.
um, probably being on the blacktop wouldn't have been a good idea. So next best thing was like, well, like we can try and go to the Arboretum because there's there's a field area, like people tailgate there for the UK football games.
Mhm.
And it just happened to be like a really pretty day too. So there was a lot of people that were just at the Arboretum hanging out. So it actually worked out perfectly that there were so many people there because it looked like an event. Maybe it didn't necessarily look like a tailgate, but it looked like an event that a lot of people were at. So it works. It worked out perfectly.
But also going back to if y'all had filmed on the blacktop, throwing the snow globe, it would have definitely shattered.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. Which would not have been great, but yeah, oh well. So there's a really funny story about about something that happened at the Arboretum. So when we were filming, so this random guy, just random older guy, probably like in his mid 50s, he just walks over to us and he's like, "Hey guys, like what's going on?" And we're just like, "Hey dude, what's up?" And so he was like, "I was just wondering like if somebody could if somebody could take my picture for me." He's like, "I'm really proud of my outfit today. And I just want someone to take a picture." And I can't, what was he wearing? He was wearing like a weird hat. It had like a big brim on it. And then like the thread or whatever that like goes down over the chin. And then his shirt do you remember what his shirt was like? I don't.
It's just a t-shirt.
It was just a regular t-shirt. I can't remember if it said anything or if it was just like a plain white t-shirt. But he was really proud of his outfit, and he asked us if we could take his picture. And this happened like right after Trevor shattered the snow globe, and so like I was down on the ground like trying to pick up all the pieces and whatnot and throw them out. And then like Paul was there helping us film. And then like Mason and Trevor were also like trying to help too. So that just left Ellen to take this guy's picture. And it was a lot more awkward than I'm making it sound. I don't know if it sounds awkward, but it was pretty awkward for this random guy just to ask us to take his picture because he liked the way he looked. And then for us, like all the other guys, like ignore him and
just let the one woman.
Yeah, just let Ellen take his picture.
Talking about using it to like catch the ladies on the internet, and I was like,
okay. Could you hear that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Ellen, I'm so sorry.
Hey, Ellen's nothing but a trooper for Party Room.
Hey, Ellen, can I ask you a question real quick?
Sure.
So you have been in all of Sam's films over the past 5 years. Which character has been your favorite?
I think my answer to this is usually palette cleanser.
Yeah.
I
just
you
got to work with me.
Well, yeah, that was fun. I mean, I think it's the first time most of my roles are opposite Sam. So it was fun to like do something with another Party Room member. And of course, just getting to work with my dog.
Yeah. Ellen was great as palette cleanser. I actually thought that Juliet was Ellen's best performance so far in Party Room.
It was another great one. Yeah, absolutely. So earlier I asked like how you got through any of these shots without dying laughing a million times. One shot of that comes to mind is, it's the wide shot. Juliet, excuse me, says, "That man wooeth me." And then it cuts to a wide shot of her and Mason talking. And then just you and Trevor in the background, just flapping around like a bunch of moronic Eagles fans.
Yeah.
You
could just say Eagles fans.
Yeah. Okay.
Moronics implied.
Yeah, they're synonymous.
Yeah.
Just how did that not take a million takes?
Because Ellen's a great actress. It took a couple takes, I think, because we had to do it from like a couple different angles, but I think we did like 2 takes per each angle. And she just powered through it. That was something that was not in the original script that I added. Because I just thought it would be funny to make Ellen say that. But I also love the visual of like that scene happening of me and Trevor just flapping in the background, and then it just cutting to Ellen and her just saying, "He wooeth me," because that's not something that would woo anybody. I don't think. I mean, maybe it does maybe that's how Andrew got Sarah. I don't know, but Like I just thought that visual in my head with that line following up was just really funny to me, so I added that. But no, it didn't really take us too many takes to get that down.
Yeah.
Although it was pretty funny. We had good laughs after cutting for sure.
Mm-hmm. Like one thing that always sticks out to me about your films is that you always have, the last interview I did with you, I said, for game night, you always have a sequence that could go on for like 8 minutes and I would be perfectly fine. For game night, it was just like the untwirling from the Christmas lights and then just people staring at her, then cutting back to her, and then cut. It was amazing. I could watch 8 minutes of that. For Metal Weird Solid,
okay.
Shut up. You said that last time too. But like for Metal Weird Solid, like the
rolling, the cartwheels,
the rolling.
Oh, I wish,
8 minutes of that would be fine.
I wish I could have done more of that.
For this film, you have so many of those moments, like whether it's Trevor and Mason biting their thumbs at each other, if it's y'all doing the eagles flapping, the scene where they're mourning. Like, this could have been a 40-minute film, and I would have been so happy with it.
Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, so I think what you're saying is, like, they just need to give us more time to make our films. Or, like, our films can be longer, is what I'm hearing.
You need to take that up with the council. Yeah. I'm just here to report. Don't make me take any stances.
Right, yeah. I gotcha. No, I appreciate that. It was really hard, it was really hard taking somebody else's script. It was fun. I don't know if I would want to do it again, but to be able to like take somebody else's script and like add your own touch to it, I think it was really fun.
Mm-hmm. So tell me a little bit about so obviously, like in the latter half of the film, Trevor and Mason say, I bite my thumb at thee. I bite my thumb at thee, In that first instance, when Romeo and Juliet are talking by the cooler because Juliet can't get a drink from right next to her.
Yeah.
She needs to go over there.
Yeah, thanks for catching that. Yeah.
Well, it's hard not to catch it when Mason like points at the drink on the ground.
Yeah, and that was all him. Like, I did not tell him to do that. That was just his instincts and his improv. So
it's a good moment.
I was really happy with that when he did that.
But so whenever y'all are talking and meeting for the first time, you see Trevor and Mason back to back, and Trevor just looks over and bites his thumb. Mm-hmm. Was that in the script? Was that just directional because you thought, well, I want to cut to them? Where do we attribute that?
That was another improv by Trevor there. So I guess everybody on my set was just like on top of their game, just in character. I'd like to take all sorts of credit as a director for that. Just giving my direction and directing properly. And just people on my set knowing what's expected of them. I think I get a lot of credit for that, for my actors knowing what the deal is and what is expected of them. And also just giving them freedom too. So, but no, those two moments from Mason and Trevor, just total instinct on their part. Honestly, I didn't even realize that Trevor bit his thumb there until you said it.
Well, what's great about it is that, like, if you don't know what it is, it just looks like a weird thing. But if you do know what it is, it's like, oh, I'm in the know. I know what that means. Like, it's the Shakespearean equivalent of middle finger.
Yeah, and the thumb biting too. Later, like, I don't think that was in the script either. I think there was like a little bit of like a fight there. I can't remember. I don't want to take away from Cody, like if he did have something like that in the script or if that's what the AI generated. But I feel like that was something that I added, was like, hey, let's just do like the biting the thumbs and like let's just make it go on for like a really long time. It was really funny editing that because I didn't actually have a whole lot of it that worked. And so like I took the sound of one of the clips and just used it for like the whole thing. And then when I was playing it through, like Ellen was like, you gotta change that sound because like it's just like the same sound over and over and over.
Mhm.
And she was like, it doesn't sound right. And I was like, okay, I was like, I was not expecting anybody to notice that. So, so I had to change that up a little bit,
Mhm.
but yeah, that was a lot of fun having them do that. And they both really sold it really well.
Eventually, Romeo and Juliet, they meet in this beautiful garden.
Mm-hmm.
Again, just beautiful scene of great garden, Juliet waiting for her lover to arrive and then just flapping in because, of course, you are. Where is this garden? Tell me about location for this.
So that's also at the Lexington Arboretum.
Okay.
We went out, I think maybe a week, maybe like the next week sometime, a few days after filming the tailgate stuff. We went out back to the Arboretum. This time it was me and Ellen and Matt Stice. Went out there together looking for different places. I knew, like, I was familiar with the Arboretum already, so I kind of had some ideas in mind, but the place that we were at, I didn't actually know that it was there. And so when we came across it, I was like, oh, this is perfect.
Mhm.
Just like the stone walls and like the overhang and whatnot.
Mhm.
And this is like a little, like, it looked kind of tucked away too. Like it looked like something that would be a natural, like, secret spot.
It really was. And, like, you have the establishing shots and all that. Like,
Mhm.
it is very good.
Yeah.
Um,
Those were a lot of fun to take. And that little part there may have been like my favorite part to edit, was just like the little, like, establishing shots of the secret meeting area.
Tell me, so I'm obviously not a super football fan. I was wondering if you could help explain some of these football lingos
Absolutely.
to me.
Yeah.
Our love is offsides.
Yeah, so so like Romeo and Juliet, they're star-crossed lovers, right? So they're from rival families, not supposed to like each other, but they love each other. And so in offsides, or in football, offsides is when you jump across the line of scrimmage before the ball is snapped. So think of like the rivalry between the families being the line of scrimmage, and then they love each other. So their love is jumping over the other side. So their love is offsides.
Okay. I have a little bit of context for this one. I would take 5 million penalty yards to be in the end zone with you. Now, doesn't this mean I would go backwards into my own end zone to be in your end zone? But also, does being in her end zone break the Christian Minecraft server rule?
Ooh, that's a good question. It could, if you want it to. I don't. For the first part of the question, I don't think it necessarily means that you have to go backwards. That is a lot of penalty yards. I mean, if you don't know, for those that don't know, a football field is 120 yards long, 10 yards for each end zone, and then 100 yards in between. So 5 million penalty yards. I don't know how many football fields that would be. That would be a lot of football fields. Let's see. Let's do that math. If this probably isn't going to be right, but we're going to try it out anyway.
It would be about 500,000.
Divided by 120.
Well,
40.
I'm just doing 100, not 120. But
well, if we do, yeah, I guess that's easier. I can't believe I had to use a calculator for that, but yeah, so that's 500,000 football fields. I think that just shows like the determination of Romeo's love for Juliet. More than anything. I don't think it necessarily has to do with breaking any Minecraft server rules. Although I will say, like, the character playing Romeo and the character playing Juliet may or may not have
whoa, oh,
may or may not have gone into the end zone. So
he's sitting on a couch next to his wife saying,
I said may or may not have.
That's true.
Yeah.
I actually don't know this one. What is a 2-point conversion? And then how does it apply to this context?
So a 2-point conversion, after you score a touchdown,
Right.
you can kick an extra point. So you know, like the big yellow thing, the goalpost.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
after
I
you
know
score,
field goals.
okay, yeah. So if you score a touchdown, you can kick the extra point is worth 1 point, or you can go for 2, which is like you get the ball like on like the 2.5, 3 yard line, whatever. And then if you get into the end zone again, then that's a 2-point conversion.
Interesting.
So it's just like a different way to, it's just a different option for teams after they score a touchdown if they want to go for 2, or if they just want to kick the extra point. But I can't. What is it? A 2-point conversion? You've scored a 2-point conversion in my heart. Is that what the line is?
I believe so.
Gosh, that's a tough one. So I got to give credit to Cody. Like Cody did all these. I think
Does
the
Cody
penalty. I think
football?
what
Does Cody care about football at all?
like, maybe a little bit.
Yeah.
I think he's cared a little bit more with like the fantasy league and whatnot, but I wouldn't say that he's like a big fan, but I think he cares more now than he did before.
Okay.
But no, he did a really, just with the whole script in general, like he did a really good job with it. But the 2-point conversion in my heart was all him, and that was just such a funny line because I think it's the one that makes the least sense of all of them. I don't really know how to explain what scoring a 2-point conversion in my heart would be. Yeah, so I don't know. Like, I guess like because that would imply that I've already like scored a touchdown, which if we've already established what getting into the end zone is, then I don't know what the 2-point conversion in my heart would be, because that implies that the touchdown has been scored, which means that I don't know.
Which
I
means
guess
that it's breaking the Christian Minecraft server rule.
I think
because it was out of wedlock.
Possibly, yeah, possibly.
All right, this awkward nuzzling scene. Tell me everything about that. Tell me how terrible Matt probably felt. Like, I just imagine it like bird's eye view of this. You and Ellen are having like this weird, like intimate nuzzling moment, and then there's just Matt going like pointing a camera at you.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, like at that point, like it's like a serious scene, but nobody really likes serious scenes. So like when it comes to serious, like I'm just gonna try to make it awkward. And that was kind of my direction for everybody in the whole film was like play it up, make it awkward, just go over the top with it. So at that point, I thought it was like, okay, this is just like a kind of serious scene. The best way to go over the top with it is just to make it awkward. And so then it just came to us like just being really close and doing that, and I guess that's all that is. So yeah, it looked awkward, I guess, but I guess that's kind of what I was going for. But if it made anybody uncomfortable, then I'm sorry, but it was intentionally meant to be a little awkward.
Cool. So, title card the next day. So this is another tailgate.
Real quick. I want to give Matt a lot of credit for, you mentioned it when I come around the corner flapping the wings, and then Ellen does like the hands on the heart thing. That push in was all Matt doing that, and it just works. It works so perfectly. Pairing it up with the music too, the original Romeo and Juliet music.
Yes.
Matt did a really good job with that little push in there. I think it really added a lot to the scene.
Agreed.
All right, so the next day, the title card the next day.
All right. So we leave the secret place of Romeo and Juliet, title card the next day, and we're at another tailgate. Are the Steelers playing the Eagles again 2 days later? Is there a context in the real world where that would actually happen?
No. So that was something that I questioned too when I was making this film and reading the script. I was like, are they the only teams that exist and they just play each other like every day? I really don't understand that either. So you had to ask Cody like how that was, like what it was like in his head when he wrote it, because I was thinking that too. Like, is it like a multi-day tailgate where they're just really excited for this game? But then like at the beginning, it's like at the beginning, like they're tailgating, right? But then like the dialogue between Romeo and Juliet, so Andrew's like podcast is like saying who he thinks will win. And
Mhm.
then when Romeo and Juliet meet by the cooler, like minutes later, they like the conversation sounds like the game has already happened.
Mhm.
But then you have the next day where they're tailgating again. So
Mhm.
I don't really know when or if this game actually happened,
Mhm.
or if there was another one happening. It really didn't make a whole lot of sense to me.
Wait, no, hold on. I just
Yeah?
cracked it. I just cracked it. Okay.
All right, let's hear it.
All right. Romeo is living out the plot of Groundhog Day, but it's actually like the Super Bowl. So he's actually like wooing Juliet over and over again.
Whoa.
So it's the next day, but the game is still happening today. The game happens tomorrow. The game happens the next day. And that's why Romeo is okay with drinking the poison, because he'll just wake up to the game again tomorrow.
That's not a bad theory. My only issue with that theory is that I don't think it would take more than one try for this Romeo to woo that Juliet.
No, I don't think Romeo.
I mean, if he's already got the
all.
2-point conversion, like what else is he going for?
Heyo, am I right?
Heyo, yeah, right. Yeah, no, it's not a bad theory. I think there are some holes in it, but
Well, I came up with it 15 seconds ago, so
there definitely needs to be. I need to hear it from the original writer of like when in his mind is this game happening? Like, what's the timeline? What is the timeline of this film? Because I have the same question that you did. Like, when is this game? Why is it like back-to-back days?
Like football doesn't have double headers, right? Like that's just baseball.
No, they don't.
Okay. All right. Moving on. We got really bogged down in that. Very sorry. All right. Pittsburgh Steelers, more like Pittsburgh butt latherers. Tell me everything about this line right here.
Yeah, so Cody originally had a naughty word in the script. It was gonna be. I know exactly. It was gonna be like Pittsburgh, like more like Crapsburg, but it wasn't crap. It was something that rhymes with Pitts.
Whoa.
And I was I'm not doing that. So even though it wasn't gonna be me saying it, I'm not gonna do that. And I don't think Trevor wanted to say it either. So, but it came.
In fairness, Andrew could have added that line as well. We don't need to just put this on Cody because they did write it together. So
I'm pretty sure it was Cody. I'm pretty sure it was Cody. Although I will give him credit if that was him, because that is something that's like a classic diss to the Steelers.
Oh yeah. Sweet Caroline.
Yeah. So like I appreciate the sentiment behind it, but like I'm not gonna have that in my party room film. So I don't think there's any, even if it was like bleeped out, like I don't want to have like any swearing or bleeping out of words to imply that a bad word was said. I mean, like I'll make a movie about like my testicle getting snapped off, but I'm not going to have any bad words.
There's a line.
There's a line.
Well, you pivot and you use Mitchell's line or Mitchell's quote, and you use butt lathers, and I think it's a nice touch.
Yeah, I had to put something there, and it was like days after that. It was just days after that episode came out of the mini pod, and I was like, I need something. Like, here you go, butt lathers, lather your butts.
Trevor destroys the snow globe. Him and Mason are getting into it. Then we cut to you, and we have the audio in the background of them still biting their thumbs at each other. What are the lines? I know oh, my bosom. I know that one. What is the other line that is presumably added in post?
The other line that was added was cheesesteaks suck.
Okay. Cool. Thank you.
Yeah, cheesesteaks suck.
All right. Where does Juliet get this poison? And does Romeo not view that as a red flag?
I guess she just carries it around with her all the time, So, I guess, like story of the Montagues and the whatever the other family is.
Capulets.
Yeah, the Capulets. There you go. I guess, if they're always in war, like you got to be prepared, right? If you're always in war. So maybe maybe she's just carrying it around with her just in case. You never know when you need some poison. I guess
was Juliet going to be able to get that into the stadium, like through security?
Well, did the game even happen? Did they even go to the game?
That's a good point.
Or did they even plan on going to the game, or were they just tailgating? I mean, you can tailgate and not go to the game.
That's also true. Interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. It's probably, I doubt that she would have been able to sneak it in there. Although, I mean, people sneak alcohol into games all the time. So I don't see why you can't sneak a bottle of poison into a game.
Now,
I wouldn't recommend trying, but you probably could get away with it.
Now, I do think a small blooper made it into the film after the poison drinking.
Okay.
It looks as though you are trying to put the cap back on the bottle before handing it to Juliet.
Was I? I don't recall that.
All right.
I'll take your word for it.
I was just curious, but okay.
Not something I remember, but I wouldn't be surprised if that did happen.
So Romeo and Juliet, they both take the poison because their teams are fighting and they don't think they'll ever get past it.
Yeah.
They fall in the shape of a heart. Very beautiful.
Thank you.
Now, tell me about the direction that was given to Mason and Trevor when it came to their mourning.
I mean, just like I said before, everything's over the top, right? You know, the Trevor, like, flap your wings. Like, they had a couple of lines that they had to say, just flap your wings, just be super sad. Mason, you know, has like the yellow towel that he could wave, just do like Steelers and Eagles things. So, I mean, that's, you know, there really isn't a whole lot to that other than that. You know, just be over the top with it. Just be super sad. Trevor took a lot more liberties than Mason did with the shaking of me and grabbing my butt. A big handful of it.
Does that break the Christian Minecraft server rule?
No, I don't think it does.
All right. I mean, again, I know you said that you didn't have that many takes, but you have to lie there still. You're dead. And then Trevor gets a big old handful and he's screaming and whining and flapping. How difficult was it to stay dead?
It's not. I think I've got a pretty good, like, I feel like I can hold it pretty well, you know? Okay. We did do a couple different takes of that. I think just to like try different things out. Not because any one take was not good. I think we did a couple different takes to try different things. I also don't really, I felt like you wouldn't have been able to see my face anyway. I do think I kind of like maybe smirked a little bit. But you know, I like to think that I can, you know, just kind of stick to the game plan and, you know, do what needs to be done to get the take and not have to reshoot. So.
All right. Are there any other Easter eggs or stories from offsides that you would like to share before we move on?
I was really proud of my music choices. It's like the secret meeting scene, like straight from Romeo and Juliet. The Star Wars music, like while they're like about to drink the poison, that's from one of the prequel movies. Can't remember which one. I'm gonna guess Revenge of the Sith, Attack of the Clones. It's from Attack of the Clones. Yeah. But what's the name of that?
Across the Stars.
Across the Stars. Which is perfect because, you know, Romeo and Juliet, star-crossed lovers, and that was, you know, same dealio with Padme and Anakin. So I was really happy with that music just fitting in real perfectly there. And then the music at the very end of the film, the injury music from like the NFL. Whenever somebody gets hurt and they go to commercial, they have like their NFL theme, but they have like an injury theme that's like a little softer.
Really?
So, yeah, so that's what that little dum da da dum da da dum dum dum. That's what that is at the end. Is the NFL injury music, which I think Matt said that he showed it to one of his friends and they appreciated the music being there at the end.
Yeah,
so
I didn't realize
that's only something that NFL fans would pick up on, but
Like I recognize the music, or like, you know, da da dun da da dun. Like I recognize that part. I just figured it was like a remix of it. I didn't know that it was actually a broadcast
Yeah,
song.
they really use it when someone gets hurt. Well, I don't want to say it's funny, but you get the idea. It was a lot of fun. I liked Cody did a good job with the script, but I'm looking forward to writing my own script again for next year.
What was Sam put in his mouth?
Welcome to What Will Sam Put in His Mouth? Today we have Mousetrap from Into the Bloodline or Ellen Tybridge Award.
What will Sam put in his mouth? Find out after this.
All right, so Sam, as you know, this season on the podcast, I am giving everybody a little bit of time to do a presentation to make the episode their own.
Yeah.
Now is the time for your presentation. What do you got for me today?
All right, so I did my presentation. This is what I would want to do with each PRFF member on my last day on Earth. So, I guess related to Romeo and Juliet, Romeo died. So let's just think about me dying. What would I want to do with everybody on my last day on Earth? So I've got four things I want to do with everybody. So let's get started. All right. So Zach Adam.
Mm-hmm.
So the first thing I want to do is enjoy listening to him laugh. Zach's got a great laugh that's very contagious. Cannot get enough of that.
Mm-hmm.
I would want to watch all the Bruce Campbell movies with him and quote things like "This is my boomstick," just constantly over and over. Zach, big Bruce Campbell fan, so let's do something like that and just have fun with it. Eat some really delicious burgers. Flashback to End of the Bloodline 2. We made some burgers in that, and they're delicious. Zach knows a good burger just as much as I do, so let's eat some burgers. Then the last thing that I'd like to do with Zach is make him feel bad one last time for messing up my near perfect game of Werewolf at P4FF. So
let it go.
I still haven't gotten over that. Zach. Yeah.
No, the redemption happened. You got healer at Party Room 5. No.
I did, but I still want to make him feel bad for it because it's fun.
And just real quick, to put this in the context, you want to make him feel bad right before you die. So
exactly.
There's not a I forgive you before I leave. It is just okay, cool.
Yeah, it's like, Zach, I want you to remember. I want this to be your last thought of me before I pass. It's like, well, if only I had been able to not mess up Sam's game, maybe I wouldn't have died. So, yeah,
man.
So there you go, Zach. That's what I'm going to do my last day on Earth with you.
There we go.
All right. Next up, we got Josiah Downey.
Mm-hmm.
So Josiah, I'm just going to get some Crank and Boom ice cream and just chat. Josiah and Melissa love Crank and Boom, so anytime we go visit them, we always bring them some Crank and Boom. So yeah, that's one thing that we do. I want him to supervise me while I build something and then have him make fun of the results. I don't actually want his help. I just want him to watch me do it. Yeah. As a supervisor myself, I know that what a supervisor does, you just sit around and watch people do their job and tell them what to do without actually doing it yourself. And I know that I'm not very good at building stuff, so I'd love to hear his thoughts on my horrible building. I'd want to make him tell me why my original End of the Bloodline 2 would have been a good idea to make. So he was the one that originally talked me down off of that. But I want him to just flip the script. I want him to tell me why I should have done it instead of why not to do it. And then lastly, I want to do anything to make him so angry that he loses his temper and tells me off, but only because I've never seen him mad. So it's just never seen Josiah mad. Have you ever seen him mad ever? No. Exactly. So it just be like I might be the only person to ever see that.
Yeah.
So having that distinct honor right before I die would be something that I would just literally take to the grave with me.
Real quick before we move on, Crank and Boom or Graders? Which one's better?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Like I know Crank and Boom is specifically like, you pair that with Josiah, like you have that Synapse bridge or whatever.
Yeah.
But just generally Josiah out of it. Crank and Boom or Graders?
Man, that's tough. I might have to say Crank and Boom. I know Ellen's gonna be a little disappointed in that because Graders is Cincinnati, but Graders is good. But I think what puts Crank and Boom over the top for me is when you walk into the Crank and Boom, specifically the one in the Distillery District, the smell in there is just so heavenly. And I think their ice cream's a little bit softer than Graders as well. But I'd have to go slight edge to Crank and Boom over Graders. Okay. But yeah, that is a tough question. All right, Mitchell Judy.
That picture.
Yeah.
Sorry. What is this picture from? Do you know?
So this picture is from Tag Weekend at Asbury. So we all, me and Mitch, we transferred in together. We were both in the same transfer tag group. And one of the events that they had during Tag Week was like a redneck day. And so like all the different tag groups were like supposed to dress up like redneck and whatnot. And so our group, like we all went to Goodwill and just bought a bunch of stuff. I actually don't think Mitchell had to buy a lot of stuff. I think these are just his original clothes. But there's I'm actually on the other side of him in this picture. Which I'll see if I can find it. I'll see if I can find it and send it to you. But yeah, but that's what that's from.
That just does not look like him. Sorry, I'm interrupting.
Yeah, no, you're good. So at this point, people have probably had the time to read this already. But the first thing I'd do with Mitchell on my last day, give him encouragement for being the awesome dad and husband that he is, and tell him that I'm proud to have him as a best friend. So yeah, no, Mitchell's a great dad, great husband. Not to me, to dad to August and husband to Holly, of course. But he's really good at that. And love having him as a best friend. So Mitch and I get into all sorts of shenanigans, and it's just been great to have him by my side the last 10 or so years, 11 years actually. All right, next thing, go on any crazy adventure with him and vlog it. We've done a few of those. I think most notably the Goose House that we went and saw. The first one we ever did was a search for a washer and dryer at this beach house that we were staying at. We walked all around the neighborhood and even down to the beach, only to find out that the washer and dryer was just like on the back porch. So I can't remember if that one's out anywhere, but that was like our first vlog that we did, and it was really fun. But
classic damage.
Any adventure that you can go on with Mitch is definitely worth the time. Play another round or two of Gun Game and Call of Duty. So were you ever around when me and Mitchell did this on the hall?
No. What is Gun Game?
So Gun Game is a game in Call of Duty where you've got like 20 different weapons, and the goal is to kill the other person with each weapon. And so it levels you up. So like I don't remember like all the different guns or weapons, but you start out with like the lowest of the low, and then like the weapons get increasingly better, I guess, the more kills you get. And then you also have like your knife that you can carry around and like stab people with it. And like if you stab somebody and kill them that way, then they go down a level, like they'd go down a gun. But me and Mitchell played it all the time, and I usually won. And if you know Mitchell, you know how loud he can get, or how loud he used to be able to get. But he would get really loud when we were playing this on the hall. When I would kill him, he would shout and be really loud, and it was really funny. Or like if he ever shot me, he would laugh really loud. So we had a lot of good times playing it. Some of the more some of the more tenured people from Nerd would know what those games were like, because they could definitely hear every little bit of them.
Mm-hmm.
Was that a good enough description for you?
Yeah, no, it was great.
Yeah, no, it was a lot of fun. And the last thing, I want to read a book of all of his horrible hot takes, so I might die a little quicker. Yeah, really curious to see what Mitchell's hot take is for my episode. But whatever it is, I'm sure it's wrong. But yeah, his takes are just so bad sometimes that, like, I think they probably, if I read a whole book of them, I think I probably would die
a little bit quicker. Just push you over the edge.
Yeah.
Amazing.
All right, Andrew King. All right, so I want to listen to him talk about anything he loves. Fewer people are as passionate and knowledgeable about the things they find interesting than Andrew is. So, like, when we went to DC and hung out with him, just listening to him talk about like U.S. history and explain like what was going on in like some of the paintings that we were looking at, it was really cool just to like learn that, because you can tell that he just knows so much about it and really enjoys it. And the way that comes across when he's talking about it, I just think is super interesting. And it helps me to like be interested in it as well. So anything that he loves, except for the Eagles, not the Eagles, but anything else, just sit me in a room with Andrew and let him chat for a little bit. I want him to introduce me to Doug Burgum. So probably only something that Andrew will get, but good old Dougie B. What is he? North Dakota senator, South Dakota senator. Let me look this up so I can get it right. Doug Burgum, governor of North Dakota. So Doug Burgum, he was like a presidential candidate that he for the Republican Party, and at some point he like was playing basketball with other people and he like tore his Achilles, and then just like next day just like kept going, right? Kept doing the campaigns and whatnot. I just gained a lot of respect for him, and he just became my guy. So I would just, with Andrew working with the Senate, I think that he's got some connections and he can introduce me to Doug Burgum. Argue about anything just one last time. Love arguing with Andrew. Most of the time I'm right. But those arguments are always good. He likes to take it over the top with me, so super fun. Last thing, shave his head, make him eat Skyline, and force him to watch the entirety of Tusk. Just absolutely torture him just so I can watch it.
Well, I get the Skyline, I get the Tusk. What's the shave his head thing?
I just want to see
humiliation.
I just want to see what his head would look like.
I'm just curious what's under there.
Yeah. I mean, haven't you ever wondered what like different people would look like bald?
Yeah.
No, I think I would love to see Andrew bald, and then combine with the other two things. Like, like
make a good day.
Who doesn't want? Andrew walked out like halfway through Tusk. I don't even think he saw the walrus. And now, like, I understand it's a bad movie, but like, I really wanted to get his full reaction. I think that movie deserved his full attention, so he could hate it even more than he does. But just, I'd love to see him watch the rest of it. All right, Jacob McGlone.
Wow.
Love this picture of you, by the way.
It's baby Jacob right there.
Yeah, it's a great shirt and a great tie.
Yep.
Travel the country with you while you work to keep you company. Feel like you're, I hate that you're like out there by yourself sometimes, but whenever you hop in like the general chat is really cool. Just to keep you a little bit of company. And just hang out, just be on the road with you, man. Want to go to a Tampa Bay Lightning versus Seattle Kraken NHL game. Watch the Kraken win. I think that'd be a lot of fun. Hockey is much better in person, isn't it, than it is
Very
on
much
TV?
So.
Yeah.
I think that's all sports.
Yeah. You would be an absolute blast to go to a hockey game with. So I'd want to do that on my last day. Hopefully my last day gets scheduled on a day where they play.
Hopefully that works out.
Otherwise, I don't think we'd be able to organize that. I'd want to make a Metal Weird Solid sequel and have you play all the different snakes from the Metal Gear universe.
Okay.
So it'd be
How
like
many snakes are there? I don't. This is out of my depth.
oh, there's a bunch of them. Gosh. So there's solid snake, there's liquid snake, there's solidus snake.
Oh,
There's
so not like actual ones from the video game. This is
no, like they are from the video game.
what?
Yeah. So you got solid snake. So
Okay.
oh man, like I could go. It would take me a long time to really explain it all. But so originally, so the origin of who Snake is,
Right.
he basically like infiltrated like a Russian base to take down a unit called like the Cobra unit, and so
Yeah.
he was given the Operation Snake Eater, and so his code name for the mission was Snake. And so he was such like a good soldier that they cloned him, and they took all the positive traits of him,
Mhm.
which became Solid Snake. They took all like the recessive genes of him, which became Liquid Snake, and then they took made a perfect clone of him, which was Solidus Snake.
Interesting.
And then there's also like Venom Snake, who is like a decoy snake. And then I don't even know. There's a few others.
You got Muppet Snake. You got Dairy Free Snake.
Dairy Free Snake.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there are several different snakes
Okay.
in the Metal Gear universe. So I think it'd be fun. It'd be fun to like have you just play like all the different characters, and just be basically having a movie that's just all you. Lastly, I want to punch you in the face for every time you ask me how's the dog and did you get the Bugatti?
Did you get the Bugatti? Did you get the Bugatti?
Because neither of them are even jokes that you were around for, and you carried on the tradition of Scott Stanley, and you didn't even know who this guy was.
Well, no, the dog was from Debo.
No, that was from Devo. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, the Bugatti.
But also, I was never in the room whenever he asked it.
My goodness,
it's so funny. Well, yeah, no, I have no defense. I just think it's funny.
Did you get the Bugatti? No, I did not get the Bugatti. The dog is fine. Quit asking. I'm gonna punch you in the face again.
And then whenever I was playing through Grand Theft Auto, I want you to know I was like farming for like 5 hours so I could get a Bugatti, just so I could send you that picture.
Oh my god!
Like, hey, I got the Bugatti.
You're the worst kind of person. You know that.
All right, I got a lot of face punches coming my way. That's fine.
You got a bunch. Cody Nowls. All right. Get one last trademark Cody hug. Cody gives the best hugs, if you don't know. By far, like if we were ranking the hug givers from the party room directors, Cody would be number one, and then I don't even think anybody else would make the list. Yeah, sorry everybody else, but Cody gives great hugs, so I love that. I finally want to finish Code Geass with him. That's an anime that we started when we were rooming together with me, him, and Mitch, and we probably got like 15, 16 episodes in and just never finished it. So I don't know if I would have enough time in my final day on Earth to finish it, but we're going to give it a shot. Make my Humanimals script come to life. I realize that a lot of these are like things that only the person would get, but
cuts.
But whatever, yeah. So this is a script that I wrote for writing for media class. Basically, two people working at a zoo, a guy and a girl. The girl has a crush on the guy, but the guy's oblivious. And he's asking her for advice on how to like pick up women, and she gives him just like the worst advice intentionally. And Cody somehow ended up with a script. I mean, I guess I probably gave it to him, but he's talked about making it before, and he's talked about making it for Party Room too. But I'd like to see that come to life, because it actually made Prof Smart. It made Prof Smart so that it was like one of the funniest scripts that he'd ever read. Which if you know Prof Smart, then you know how big of a compliment that is. But yeah, so we do that. And then lastly, remind him one last time that Heather saw me half naked in my underwear before they got married.
What?
Yep, true story. One Friday night during open dorm, I can't remember where I was getting back from, but I just got back to the dorm. The room was, the door was open, cozy, they're sitting on the couch.
Mhm.
And so I just took my shirt off, took my pants off, was just gonna switch into my pajamas.
Mhm.
And then Heather just walks in, so she was over for open dorm and just walked in when I'm in my underwear. And I looked at her and it was like, oh, hey, Heather, like not thinking anything of like how much clothes I'm wearing or whatever. But, just said, hi, Heather, continue on my business. And then like immediately was like, oh my gosh, like Heather's here. And like, we just like Heather and I like shared a moment, right? We stared at each other like deep in the eyes for a good second. And then I hid in the closet and she left so I could get dressed. But yeah, that was all before they got married, and it was a very weird moment.
I'm sure.
Right, Tanner Perkins. Yeah, I like this picture of Tanner. It's pretty good. Absorb all the positive energy. Tanner really is like one of the most positive people I've met. So on a day where I'm like about to die, like just get as much positivity in my life as I can. And Tanner's probably the best person to do that with. I want to watch all the Marvel movies with him and finally play the the Spider-Man games for him. He loves those so much, and I don't really. But kind of what I was talking about with Andrew earlier, like I think one of the best ways to fall in love with something is to see somebody else love it. And so I'd really like to, take some of the love that Tanner has for those things and learn to enjoy them with him.
Now, you are going to have to watch those movies at like 10 times speed.
That's true. Well, I mean, I've already seen them, so
Oh, okay.
I just don't really care for a majority of them.
Mhm.
And I bought the Spider-Man game, but I played a little bit of the first one. But I never actually finished it. But I know he really likes all those. He talks highly about them. So another thing, I didn't really put a whole lot of thought into how much some of this would take, how much time some of this would take. So maybe, I don't know. Anyway, moving on. Apologize to and thank him for doing pretty much all the work on that one audio project we worked on together. I honestly don't remember like what I did on that project other than just let Tanner do all the work. In my defense, he volunteered because that was like his field, but I didn't really do anything. So sorry, Tanner, but thanks for doing that. Oh, if I did that, then I guess that means that I'm going to die today if I just did that. So
you also reminded Cody about the time that Heather saw you half naked in your underwear.
Well, I guess all of this podcast will come out post-mortem.
Let's not joke about that. Knock on wood.
Then laugh at the Cleveland Browns. They suck. It's just funny that they suck and that he's a fan of them. So haha, Tanner at the Browns. They stink. All right, Paul Sigler. Look at that. Just look at that picture.
Oh my god.
I know, right? I know. I want him to pray for my loved ones before I die. Just make sure they're taken care of. I think Paul would do. I think anybody here would really do a good job at that. But I'd like for Paul to do that as I'm on my deathbed. Sticking with the video game theme, I want to play just any of the Zelda games since I've never played them. I know Paul's a big fan of those, and so I want to be able to talk about him with those, just some of the things that he likes about them, and figure out like what all the hubbub is. You ever played any of those games?
I have died in many of those games. Yes.
Oh, you've died in many of them? Cool. I've never once played one, obviously, but it would be fun. I want to watch a PG-13 movie with a bunch of dudes and have him walk in at the worst possible moment again.
Yeah.
That happens so many times. It was like, I mean, I don't think a sitcom writer could write any better how often that happened. Like there's no running joke that I can think of that's funnier than the real life Paul just walking in at the worst possible time. So I'd want to experience that again with him. And then lastly, for Paul, I want to find somebody who thinks he's ugly. I know it's impossible, but I'd want to try.
Yep.
Levi, great picture.
Boy.
Great picture of Levi here.
Oh, wow. Oh my, you're being such a savage right now. Some of these pictures are brutal, man.
I want to write and record a song about my life together. I think it would be fun. Give Levi the creative liberties on what the song about my life would be like. Oh yeah, my slides mess up a little bit. I want to play all the Pajama Sam games with him, and want to watch him play the Life is Strange game so I can finally get his opinions. It's been really cool to talk to Levi a lot on the chat, getting to know him better. And one night we were just talking about games, and we had a lot in common actually with video games like Pajama Sam and Life is Strange, but he hasn't finished them yet. So Levi, I need you to do that hopefully before I die, because I want your opinions.
Finished Pajama Sam yet?
Well, I mean, he's finished. No, he's finished Pajama Sam. I mean, like, I don't really know if you would say like finish those, because it's not like, I don't know. I mean, it's just like a computer game series.
Yeah. That's such a nostalgic childhood. Like,
yeah. No, I mean the only one I've ever played was No Need to Hide When It's Dark Outside.
Yep.
I never played any of the other ones, but I want to play all those.
There's like 6 of them.
I
bought them all on Steam whenever the pandemic first hit.
Yeah.
And I would speed run them, and really, when you're an adult, they take like 5 minutes each. It's kind of embarrassing.
Yeah. Yeah, we have all the Freddy Fish games, and some of those are actually pretty challenging.
Yeah.
But especially for like kids, like I can see how kids could get hung up on them. But no, yeah, I want to just have a little bit more shared experiences like that. Moving on, go to a zoo. I don't know why, but I feel like Levi would be a blast to go to a zoo with. I mean, just look at that face. Like, that looks like a guy that knows how to have a good time at a zoo, don't you think?
Yeah. It's weird because like the second you said that, I was like, oh, dude, Levi would be great to go to a zoo.
He would. Yeah, he would be, wouldn't he?
But like, funnily enough, probably the worst person to go to an aquarium with. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I don't know.
Think about it. It's a joke. Shut up. It's fine.
Yeah, I'll have to think. I'm gonna think about it just because you told me not to. And lastly, this one I'm a little ashamed of. Want to tell him the truth about me giving Cody his new address so he could find him for the podcast. Oh, sorry, Levi.
You doxed Levi.
I did. Sorry, buddy. It happens. I'm ashamed. Don't blame the rest of the trading card committee. Blame me. All right, Trevor Smith. All right, let's go to a Michigan football game together. Trevor's a big Michigan fan. I think it'd be fun. Be fun to do that with him. Eat one last meal at Slim Chickens. Slim Chickens opened up really close to where we live, and Trevor introduced us to the amazement of Slim Chickens. Unofficial sponsor of the Party Room Film Festival official trading card committee, by the way.
It does make an appearance in the movie Offsides.
It does, yeah. Have him give me an eye examination and have him use all sorts of big words that I don't understand. I think Trevor would probably enjoy that just as much, if not more than I would. So, yeah, that would be fun. And lastly, I want to wrestle him and win. I think that would be quite the accomplishment. Especially like if I'm dying, like I'd probably be really weak and whatnot. So at my lowest point, if I'm able to wrestle him and win on my last day on Earth, I think that'd be pretty legendary.
Yeah.
All right, Matt Stice. Let's see. It's messing up again. Go on a photo film shoot with him and watch him work his magic and be in awe at what he does. As you guys know, Matt has such a good eye for these things. He's just super talented at it, and I love looking at all of his work. Want to watch the Bengals win the Super Bowl. Really, really hope that happens someday. I get to experience that with them.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't look like it's going to be this year, unfortunately, but maybe one day. Maybe one day when I die. So hold on. Is this all lining up? Like this hockey season does take place like while the Super Bowl happens, right?
Oh yeah.
Like if I'm gonna watch
Hockey starts in like August and ends in like April.
Okay, yeah. So like if I'm gonna watch a Lightning and Kraken game with you and watch the Bengals win the Super Bowl and go to a Michigan football game with Trevor, I think it all ends up because yeah, it does. They all overlap. So this is possible.
It's very possible.
Yeah. Let's see what's next. So I want to go halvesies and hire a private investigator to find the legendary Foozle from Rocket League and play them one more time. For those that don't know, Foozle was one of the online people that we played in Rocket League, like when we first started playing together, and to this day is probably still like the funniest name that we laugh at all the time. So it's a dream. It really is a dream of mine to play against Foozle with Matt one more time. And then lastly, I want to watch Terminator 2 again, but not the extended edition because that version stinks. We watched that one together, and he told me so much about how great Terminator 2 is and like how it's one of the best sequels of all time. And it may be, but we watched the extended edition, which he likes better than the original Terminator 2. But like it was just so slow, and it really just like it just made the pace of the movie real choppy. And afterwards, I was just like, I didn't really think that was all that much better than the first one. And then he was like, well, that was the extended edition. Like it admittedly isn't as good. Most people would say that. And I was like, well, then why did you talk it up so much and then show me the one that's not as good? So I had the same complaint about Andrew and Zach and Matt. When we went to Washington, D.C., we went and saw the Indiana Jones movie, the new Indiana Jones movie, in an IMAX theater. And I'd never been to an IMAX theater before. I'd never seen a movie in IMAX. So I was like, okay, like what's so special about IMAX, right? And they were like, man, like IMAX is so great. Like you get like this big screen, it's like a whole different like movie experience. Like it's gonna be awesome. And I was like, okay, that'd be cool. And then so we go watch Indiana Jones, and then it's like the movie, like the picture is not even taking up the whole screen, and to me it just felt like a normal movie experience. And then after we were done, they're like, well, what'd you think? What'd you think about the IMAX experience? And I was like, I mean, it just felt like a normal movie theater. And they're like, yeah, well, like this movie wasn't made to be shown in an IMAX theater. So like, why did we go see it in an IMAX theater when it's not like, why don't I go see a movie that's made for IMAX in an IMAX theater for my first one experience? Yeah. Anyway, I'll get off of that so we can move on to Aaron Winterowski. This picture is just kind of weird, but just with like the arm and everything coming out. So yeah, so my last day on Earth with Aaron, I want to have him take me to sign up to be an organ donor. Don't think I've done that. I don't know if that's something that he would have to take me to do, but
no, not really. But he should.
Yeah, he should. Just so he can make sure that I'm giving all the right organs away. But yeah, I want to tell embarrassing stories about ourselves to each other. Some of the embarrassing stories that Aaron shares are really, really funny. So I just want to like trade embarrassing stories back and forth because I feel like that would just be a really good time. Next, I want to watch a really bad animated movie with him. Like, I don't know, maybe 2012's Food Fight and record his reaction. Do you know anything about this movie, Jacob?
I do not.
It's basically just like a huge advertisement for a bunch of different food brands, and they fight. And
Wait,
it's like,
yes,
yeah,
actually.
And it was like really bad. So I don't know if Aaron's seen it. I feel like he maybe has. I feel like he's at least probably heard of it. But he's the type of person that I'd want to watch this movie with and get his reaction because I think he would have a lot of great things to say about it. And then lastly, kind of back on the organ donor thing, I want to die while I'm with him and let him harvest my organs, only if he cuts me open like Dwight does to the dummy in that episode of The Office, including skinning my face and having him wear it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, we'll just leave that. I don't have any comments.
No comments? Yeah.
We'll
So,
just let that ride.
Aaron, you should be honored that Aaron was the only one that I wanted to actually die with.
Aw.
Yeah. I feel like he'd know what to do with my organs. But yeah, that is the end of my show.
All right. So that's the last slide. Okay, thank God.
That is the last slide, yeah.
I was really like just dreading some type of like, which brings me to this last slide.
Yeah, I know that's.
I've got some news, and I was like, oh gosh.
No. I know that's like I know some of those things are like really like personal to people. So
yeah,
sorry, like if the rest of them that aren't you is like not as entertaining or if it's not as funny. But
no.
I think each individual slide will be as funny to the person that it's for, which is the intention. So
that was great, very unique. I loved it a lot. I do have like one question about it.
Yep.
Actually, I guess, is Ellen still in the room?
Yeah, she's still here.
Hey, Ellen, what do you think about him wanting to spend all that time with us and not you?
It's pretty par for the course.
Oh, come on. Wow.
I'm kidding, honey.
Goodness.
Oh.
No, I have answered this question with Ellen before too.
Mm-hmm.
My answer for what I'd want to do with her is whatever she'd wanted to do.
Get a 2-point conversion. Hey,
yeah. Get into the end zone. Get that 2-point conversion going.
Tune in next time to find out.
What was Sam put in his mouth?
You alluded to it a little bit earlier, but as the blue captain, how do you feel the night went for you?
I think overall it was just a banner night for everybody, not just the blue team, but the red team as well. I was disappointed in Zach for not, for Zach on the couch. I'm not actually disappointed in you, Zach. I'm just messing with you. But as soon as I saw Zach's film, which was like the first one, I was like, dang, we're cooked. We're not gonna win. But no, overall, I think it was a great night. I understand that the red team was picked by the judge, but when you really look at the night, the blue Josiah versus red Josiah, blue Josiah film won easily. And then a blue team member won the Golden Dewey. So I think there was like 3 big awards on the night: the Josiah Film Award, the Judge Award, and the Golden Dewey. And blue took home 2 of 3. So like I will say that like some of the blue team films I enjoyed maybe a little less than the red team films. Not that I didn't enjoy all the films, I enjoyed all the films, but I think if you're really looking at the major awards of the night, the blue team that's not really a secret. The blue team came out on top. I put less stock in the Judge Award because they don't really understand Party Room as much. And I don't really think the judge had a good basis of what to make his decision on. So then I look at the other 2 awards that are voted on by the Party Room members, and the Party Room members voted for blue. So I think red team, you can pretend that you won the night, but blue team really won the night. And really, we all won the night, but blue team won the night.
I mean, I will admit I voted for blue. As far as
you should have,
I was keeping track of like what I thought. Like I thought it was going to be like, what is it, 7 categories? I think I thought it was going to be like a 5-2 split on blue's favor.
Mhm.
So hearing it the other way, but I do think that comes from them being an outsider. So like, they didn't know about the moment, about the monumental achievement of the third installment of Chronicles of Light. They didn't
Exactly.
know what Levi delivery. Like, they didn't like
They didn't
catch a lot
understand the
of those.
magnitude of the impact of delivery.
Mhm. Of course you have Zach, which that's its own story right there. So like, like I
And the
do
funny
think
thing is, I think Heffley actually I think he liked Zach's film better than Cody's. I think of the two Blue films that he liked better, Zach's was one of them, which is
That's really
that's
interesting.
great. But I I love Zach, and he knows. We don't have to pretend. Like Zach's film was great.
No,
but
we're good. He knows what he did.
yeah, he does. He is the reason that the Blue team lost. I mean, he's not the reason, but no, I think Blue team actually won the night, and you guys can pretend that you won the night, but you didn't.
How much do you think lineup order affects winning the Golden Dewey? Like, do you think there is a certain spot in the lineup where you would rather be to statistically have an edge over the rest of the competition?
Not necessarily. I think early on, like in the film, not I think in the early years of the film festival, I think it did. I think before we really all caught our stride. And I know people will say the first year, like people didn't really know what to do, but there's a lot of great films in the first year. I think Into the Bloodline was the last one to be shown, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe it might have been Snap. I can't remember. But I do think in the earlier years, if your film was shown later, I think it may have had a better impact or a better chance of winning. But now that I think of it, I think Rotten Roommate was towards the beginning of year 2. But whatever.
Rotten Roommate was right after Meaningless, I believe.
So I guess all that, all of those words is to say I really don't think it matters. I think every film has become so memorable in its own way that it's gonna stick. It's gonna stick with you. Now, there are certain people that I wouldn't want to go before or after. So Andrew in his podcast, he said that he didn't want to go. He said he didn't want to go after, or he didn't want to go before Paul, right? I think.
Right.
So I would actually disagree. I would want to go after, because I do think in that way, your film is going to get the last laugh. But I guess there's also the other side to it too, of because I think my film was shown before Paul's, and then his was so much better than mine.
I don't think that's true.
Well, I mean, it was second place. I mean, so much better might be a stretch, but
Paul used his baby to get to corner the wife vote.
He exploited his baby. But yeah, no, I mean, I don't know. I think in that way, if you go after one of the really good filmmakers, like a Paul, or I don't know, one of the guys that's more technically good. I think you'd want to go after them, because even if their film is better than yours, I think your film being the most recent impression would give you a little bit of an edge. It would give you your film a little bit more than if your film had gone before, something like that. Just because it's more fresh in your mind. But you could probably cut a lot of that out, because none of that meant anything. But all that to say that no, I don't really think it matters where you go in the order. I think so long as your film is memorable, and makes an impact in one way or the other, I think people will vote for it if it's truly the best film of the night.
With the success of the merch from Party Room 5, what merch items would you like to see next?
That's a good That's a good question. I know there's been jokes about like a nerd bra for the women. You know, we need to get more women apparel. So you got like N3,
What was
N3
that?
on one side and RD on the other.
No.
That's a real thing.
Who made that joke?
I think it was Coop from a long time ago, but
Oh.
that's not my real suggestion. The wives can do that if they really want to, although I think they should. But Ellen's giving me a thumbs down.
All right, ladies, balls in
Merchandise.
your court.
Merchandise. Let's see. I think like action figures of
Ooh.
like characters from the film. So like we have the trading cards,
Mhm.
but like action figures. So like I'd love like a Gilbert the Green or a Benson the Blue action figure. So I think there's, I guess you could do like 3D printing of those to make those happen. But that would be really cool to get like actual like little figurines of some of the characters from the films.
Speaking of like little figurines, what Lego set would you like to see from Party Room?
Definitely How Not to Find Food in the Wild. Definitely. No.
What specific?
It took me a second to think of it, but there's no other one that I would want other than How Not to Find Food in the Wild.
Like, what would this set look like? What is the actual?
Well, it would just be like you would have like the Candy Town and then like the little gummy bear people in it, and then
it's like the wide shot of
just like the wide shot. You'd have the beast at the end, and then maybe add some like towers and whatnot that like the planes could be like crashing into or something.
Yeah, and then
like shooting the lasers could connect from the airplane to the beast.
Ooh.
Yeah.
And then like below the street, I didn't do a good job portraying this, but the evil guy's secret lair is actually like underground. So it could be like a multi-tiered set.
Yeah, that's like, there you go.
Okay.
Dude,
right.
I would love that.
We're making it. Earlier you talked about how you feel as though the council owed you something for the shenanigans that happened. I'm making a very special case for you. Would you like to make a wish for the council because you think you are owed? I will present this to them, and then they will decide on whether or not to grant it.
Well, I already know that they're not going to grant it. But I think since Andrew manipulated the data and forced me into losing that deal with Cody, and also the fact that I still went with Cody's script even though he turned it in late, and paired with the fact that UGG was such a big success that I wrote most of, I think
you're adding things to. Sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
I think that I don't know. Well, see, I was about to say, like, I think I should be able to write the scripts for the 3 council members, but then that would just be a lot of work. And then honestly, if I did that, I would probably just do a bunch of nonsense and make them do that. So probably don't that. I don't know. I mean,
you know, we don't have to make a wish. We can just make this like you would like an appeal. You feel as though you are owed something, and we can see what the council says about that. But if you have an idea of what you think you are owed, then now is the time to say.
I think I should be given the rules video a week early and should be given like an extra week. So like last year, where Cody was like, I gave Cody a week to give me the script, and he was a day late, but like I had like one less week to work on my film. So I think the council should give me all the rules 1 week early. Of course, I wouldn't be allowed to share it with anybody, and I wouldn't do that. But give me the rules 1 week early. Give me everything I need to know 1 week early, and give me an extra week at the beginning to film. Not an extra week at the end, but an extra week at the front to do all my filming and everything. I think that's fair.
I will present that to the council, and we can find out at the end of the season.
I cannot wait to see.
I don't think that sounds super unreasonable.
It's
personally.
not. I think
I don't
it's
think
pretty
that's
reasonable.
terrible.
Yeah. So I do think that I think I was cheated, and I think I was in good faith. In good faith, I think I'm owed this.
Mhm. All right, Sam. As we wind down here, what is in the future for Sam Films? Do you have any ideas you're playing with for next year? Anything that you're looking forward to, planning on?
Yeah. So I've got an idea of what I want to do this year. And then of course I always have like a few backup ideas. Like I think I've got like right now I've got like 3 or 4 like solid ideas that I know that I want to do at some point. But this year, I have an idea of something that I want to do. I mean, it's kind of hard to say more without like sharing what it is, right? But if everything falls in place, I think I know what I'm going to do this year. And I'm going to try to expand. I'm going to try to expand my horizons a little bit. Maybe a little bit of special effects. Maybe a little razzle dazzle. Who knows? I think a lot of my films, in some way, I'm like the Christopher Nolan of the film festival. All my films are very grounded, right? That does not mean anything whatsoever, nor is it true. But I think a lot of my films have been very simple up to this point. So I think try to like expand my horizons. Like I said, some razzle dazzle. Try to do some things I haven't done before to mix it up, throw people off a little bit.
Party Room 6. Sam Maddox enters the Michael Bay era of his career.
Yep. And it'll be really nice when the council gives me that extra week to work on it.
Yeah, you're going to need it. All right. Well, this has been the PRFFP, and I'm just hanging out.
Hanging out with my family.